When I was priming this canvas, I start remembering a Polish artist woman. I'm not sure if she's still alive. She was really recognized in Poland as an artist and also in Europe. She was doing very nice figurative and abstract paintings, combination of both those two. And what she did for her canvases, she used oil, and she didn't prime them with either gesso or rabbit skin glue or any type of silk skin that will protect canvas from oils, from penetrating the canvas and destroying it over time. And she was doing that for like a couple decades, and until, without priming the canvas, until one of the collectors start complaining that it takes more money to conserve those paintings than pay for collecting them. And that collector was really upset, and it made it to media. And the artist's statement for that, or her answer, was, "Who said that I want my paintings to live longer that I am on this planet?" And I think that that was a pretty strong statement for what she was doing. And oftentimes we cut up ourselves with that thinking that we need to make sure that our art will live longer than we do, and preserve and protect materials, and think about materials that we use to make sure that we have that highest quality. But actually, do we need that? And it's interesting question when it comes to preparing the canvases. And oftentimes when I prime that canvas, I think about it. And I am pretty rough painter. I like to scrap the paint from the canvas and make it very like connected with the surface. And I'm always aware that I need to always apply that extra layer of gesso or extra layer of rabbit skin glue to protect oil paint from, or protect canvas from penetrating it with the oils and all kinds of mediums. But I think that there is also a beauty in that form that it penetrates the canvas. And another thing that came across to me just recently is that I think somebody said that, or maybe I read it. When collector buys a painting, they don't say, "Oh, I bought a really beautiful canvas. Look at that back end of the canvas, that back surface." They don't talk about it that way. They talk about the front surface, what is on it, and what art is created. And I think that having that, being conscious is good about materials and the quality of it, but also letting go sometimes and mix it up a little bit in between might be interesting as well, as that's the moment when that creativity unleash and give something away from the creator and to the public. So release something new and something unpredictable. And I think that it's very interesting to think about it that way. And each time when I prime the canvas, I realize that it is something that I am aware of, conscious, and at the same time I ask myself, what is my statement for the paintings? Is it only the painting and the surface, or there is something more behind it, like behind the process of preparing the canvas? So I'm going to leave you with those thoughts, and I will see you in the next one. Bye bye. My wife dropped me today to the studio. She's going to use the car, and she stepped in with my daughter. She sat down on the armchair that is just right there, and we start talking about the paintings and surface that I'm going to paint on soon. And one of the first things that she pointed out is that the figures in the painting, actually they appear to be a little bit of flat, or don't have that exact three-dimensional or exact two-dimensional form and aspect of it, well, like we can find in photography or other paintings. And I think that that was a really good point for those two paintings that we see behind, because I was actually, when I was doing them, I was actually exactly interested in that. How much of a flat, undefined surface can be used in the figure with a combination of a little bit of shading and forming to define the figure in the painting, and combine that with abstraction together and create a painting that is about form and color, that doesn't resemble anything of the illustration, and also brings that confusion to the viewer, who is not really sure what he's looking at. Is it unfinished painting? Is it painting that was really thought through, or it's maybe abstraction that has some elements of representation, in this case a figure? Because when we think about painting, when we think about figurative painting, we think about shading, building form, making sure that we can read that two-dimensional aspect of it and recognize the figure, person that we portraiture, and it all makes sense. But why we have to think about it that way? Why abstraction has to be completely abstract and not representative? So when we look at the different points of the painting, they could be either representational or completely abstract. And I think that that's a beauty of the painting that I'm trying to bring, that is a combination of figurative and abstract, and a combination of something undefined, something that confused the viewer. And that also brought me to the David Hockney, the famous artist everybody knows, the British one. And when he did his portrait commissions or figure commissions, he was often accused that the painting doesn't have one source of light, that everything on the surface appears to be from different light sourcing, different angles maybe, and that altogether it comes as a painting, but there is something in it that doesn't resemble as a purely representational, figurative, purely like, I don't know, not hyper-realistic, it's not hyper-realistic, but purely something that we can look at and say like, yeah, this painter really spent the time to study the shades and shadows and build that two-dimensional, three-dimensional aspect, so I can really dive in the painting and be there in that story of the painting. And I think that lots of people confuse that, and that maybe could be confusing in my painting as well. I think that when you look at it, you need to find your own story and your own philosophy of the painting and create your own illusion of what you're looking at. And I think that that's something that I'm trying to bring to the painting, and that's something I am interested in. And also another thing that we talked about is that I said that to her that I'm obviously trying to create 4 seasons, and then I said that this to me, because it has a lot of pink and reddish colors, resemble more of the spring. And then she said, no, actually it's not a spring, it's like this yellow and orange, it just somehow doesn't really feel like a spring, and maybe it's a different season. And I think that that was the answer that I wanted to hear. It's just like that confusion between abstraction and figuration, building two-dimensional surface, just like we can see in black and white photography, everything beautifully shapes the figure. That's something that lacks in the painting, and all over we have that abstraction that connects with it. And I think that those 4 seasons will become the same thing. It's gonna be not exactly defined season. Like this to me is a winter. For her is more like a fall, because feels like feels dark and feels maybe like rainy. But for me, I want to mix them in between. So yes, we have a season that is defined, but it's only a small point between transition from the fall to winter, and from winter to spring. And what I'm looking at is that transition. So when you look at all of them, they will connect, they will click, but at the same time, they're not gonna be exactly defined the way we want to define them. I don't know, I hope it makes sense, and yeah, I'll get back to the painting then.